Hey parents, it's Brian and Tracy, and if you have kids who struggle with anxiety, whether they're grade school kids or junior high or high school kids, maybe even college kids, well then welcome to the crowd because it's something that everyone deals with these days. And today we're going to talk about how to help your kids with anxiety. In fact, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about signs of anxiety, where it comes from, and then how to help them. So let's start with these 6 signs of anxiety. Look out for these things in your kids. Maybe they can't concentrate, or they're not sleeping well, or they have bad dreams, or they're not eating properly. Maybe they're easily angry or irritable, or they worry a lot and have negative thoughts, or maybe they're just always feeling tense and fidgety.
As parents, it can be so scary in the world we live in today, and just knowing what the statistics are and how much anxiety is just taken over really from our young adult population, even down into our kids. And so if you're anything like me, I'm thinking, okay, I don't want this anxiety to get out of control or be something that's super disruptive in my kids' lives. So what do we do? How do we know? So those 6 signs that we're talking about, that's not an exhaustive list. But pay attention with your kids, and we're talking down into elementary school. And maybe for some of you with younger kids, you're seeing it in the bad dreams, you're seeing it in the fear of, negative thoughts, or just kind of getting a sense that the world is kind of a scary place. Those are some things to pay attention to, knowing like what are the thoughts, what are the things my kid is thinking about that's creating this angst in them. Or if they're moody, and some days they seem okay, and then other days they're just irritable and they're angry. It might be just a real internal struggle going on that's anxiety producing, and they need help.
And maybe you're asking the question as a parent, well, where does this come from? Well, first of all, they're just kids, and most kids these days struggle with anxiety. For a lot of kids, they have a fear of failure in school or an insecurity about their ability. Some of our kids might be struggling with a fear of rejection with their friends, or younger kids might be struggling with stranger danger. And don't forget that trauma, maybe from some past event, could still be lingering for them and causing this kind of anxiety.
The society we live in today and the culture that's really been created with social media, I think, is part of the problem here of what's created in our kids from a very young age, where they haven't had time to develop some of those social skills or learn more about their identity. They're just being thrust into this world where everyone has an opinion, and people can be really mean and judgmental and make harsh comments, and friendships are harder to do in person. Everything's kind of online. So our kids are kind of stuck in this world of social media that has created a heightened awareness of your social standing, of acceptance and rejection. And so those are just a few of the reasons where anxiety can really kind of enter into your kids' lives. And again, when they're young in elementary age, when we were growing up, you went over and played at a kid's house and you didn't have a cell phone, so you had to go through parents. Well, anymore, our kids just more and more are just being exposed to things without the protection of adults paying attention to things or hearing the things that are being said and done, that our kids are being exposed to a lot, and they're not necessarily emotionally developed enough to know how to handle them. That last one on trauma, I think, is really important to pay attention to. If you notice that your kid's suddenly having a real reaction, scared, doesn't want to leave the house, not trusting of people, there might be something else that's gone on that you might want to make sure you're really digging into to make sure, did something happen? Did somebody step over the line with them and do something that was harmful? Pay attention to the trauma, or just some event, a death in the family, something that's happened that really just kind of creates a major traumatic event, really can be disruptive to kids.
So we have 4 practical suggestions on how to help your kids if they're dealing with anxiety. And again, most kids are, so don't feel bad about it. You're not failing as a parent, but it's important to try these 4 things. First of all, help them to see that anxiety is normal.
Yeah, there's that normal range where emotions aren't bad, right? We're given emotions. Emotions are good. They're motivating for us. They help us in interpersonal relationships. So the first thing really is just tell your kids it's okay. It's okay that you're scared or you're nervous about that first day of school or going and trying out for that new team. Those butterflies, those feelings that you have, those are normal. That's good to kind of create that first step of anxiety is just kind of a normal experience that everybody has at some level.
And number 2, then, help them to face their fear. Their instinct is to run away from it or to stuff it, but you need to help them to face it.
Yeah, the research shows that for a lot of parents, I know this would be true for me, and I even remember as a kid, I used to have a total fear and anxiety of sleeping over at other people's houses. And so my parents kind of got to a point where they're like, you're going to go and you're going to stay at that friend's house. And let's just see if you could make it till 10 p.m. Let's see if you could make it till midnight, and if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're scared and you want to come home, you can call us and we'll come get you. But they didn't say, well, you just don't ever have to have a sleepover, right? I had to kind of work through what that fear was really about. Was that anxiety real? So parents, the answer for us isn't to just remove every scary situation from our kids that brings them anxiety. It's creating and helping them learn how to manage that anxiety in those situations.
And that leads to our third suggestion, which is to give your kids practical strategies for facing their fears.
Yeah, and that might be you as a parent talking about things that you do to manage your anxiety, whether it's breathing exercises, whether it's, give me a call if you're feeling anxious in a situation and we'll talk about it, we'll talk through it. Make a plan that if your kid is getting ready to go on a field trip or a sleepover or trying out for a new experience or going to a new school, talk about how are you going to handle it? What are you going to do? What's the first thing you're going to do when you show up at the tryout or to the school? If you start to feel nervous, go to the bathroom, take a few minutes, do some breathing exercises, kind of help them plot a course or a plan so that when anxiety hits them in that situation, they aren't completely flustered and overwhelmed. You've talked through it and they have a plan.
And then finally, in some cases, you might really have to help your kid to find some professional help with a pediatrician or maybe a therapist.
Absolutely. And I hope parents that you are not afraid to make that happen. Mental health professionals are so good. Even if your kid just has to go a few times and can just have a place to go and talk and chat, and maybe they're afraid to share certain things that they think or feel with you as the parents. So it's great for them to have a safe place to go with a professional that understands anxiety, understands how to work with kids at whatever age your kid is, and for them just to learn strategies, coping strategies, way to think about things, and really make anxiety something that maybe they're going to have to live with that. For some kids and for some adults and young people, medication might be a part of the strategy. But just learning how to manage through it, because life is going to be filled with unexpected events. None of us are ever going to walk through life with everything just going exactly the way we want it. So the more we can equip our kids with skills and insights to know how to manage anxiety, the better off they're going to be as they become adults.